Hi and good morning everyone. Welcome to our topic for today. I am your Food and Beverage Services instructor, Mr. Rich Sabanal. So before we start, let us pray first. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Okay, once again, good morning everyone. So let us check your attendance first. Okay, so that's great. Everybody's here because today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic that I'm sure you can use it to your work immersion, training, or your career in the near future. But before we move on to our new topic today, let us make some recap first from our previous discussion, from our topic that we discussed last meeting. So, anyone from the class who still remember the topic that we discussed? Okay, so last meeting we discussed regarding the expected behavior when it comes to workplace. Okay, the definition of work ethics. Again, class, what are those considerations towards better work ethics? Okay, we have attendance, teamwork, character, appearance, attitude, productivity, organizational skills, communication, cooperation, and respect. Okay, so in relation to our topic for today, we are going to associate those work expected behaviors when it comes to workplace. So for today's topic, we are going to discuss the standard operating procedure when it comes to food and beverage operations. So why is it very important to follow those SOP or standard operating procedure? Well, of course, for the benefits of the employers or the company, in order to have a good performance, in order to have a good image, in order to give excellent service towards the guests or the customers. So what are the SOP or standard operating procedures when it comes to food and beverage operations? Well, of course, first we have welcoming the guest, or the SOP when it comes to welcoming the guest. We have also SOP when it comes to taking order. We have serving food, SOP when it comes to handling food delays, and SOP when it comes to farewell bid the guest. So those are the sequence or procedures or steps when it comes to food and beverage operations that we need to have standard operating procedures in order to give an excellent service to our guests or customers. But today we are going to emphasize the standard operating procedure or SOP when it comes to welcoming the guests. So the main objective here is to ensure our guests have a positive first experience. So meaning to say, every guest, every customers who visits to your premises should experience a good quality and excellent services coming from your employees or member staff. Aside from our main objective here, we have also policy. So the first one, all guests should receive a warm and friendly welcome. The next one, acknowledge regular guests. And the last one, ensure guest satisfaction is maximized. Okay, so we are going to emphasize or highlight that later on. So here are the procedure of welcoming the guest. The first one, we must welcome the guest with a polite and friendly manner. In what way? Well, of course, as a food attendant, as a restaurant receptionist, you should look first professional. The way how you dress, the way how you behave, the way how you act, the way your body language shows to the guest or the customer, the way how you welcome the guest. Well, of course, the first one, you have to smile. You have to say something that makes or feel them better or great. So the next one, when guests arrive, welcome them with the local greetings. Here in the Philippines, we commonly use saying, Mabuhay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Because we Filipinos are known as the most or very hospitable when it comes to welcoming guests or visitors. When it comes to tourist destination, in some countries, they have also their own local greeting. Let's say, for example, when it comes to a local greeting of Spanish, hola. Okay? So when it comes to French, bonjour. So when it comes to Japan, konnichiwa. They have also using a body language. Comes to Korea, and you say, let's say for example, when it comes to Hong Kong, ni hao. What about Thailand? Sawadee ka. They also using hand and body language. When it comes to Middle Eastern countries, they use salam alaikum. Okay, those are the local greetings using in different countries, especially if you are a receptionist, it's either hotel or a restaurant. So next, use a positive body language, eye contact, friendly smile, and you have to stand up straight. So why is it very important? Because as an employee, it's very important that you have a good posture. You have to stand up straight. You have to look professional, having a friendly and a good smile. And of course, when someone talking to you, you have to talk and make sure that you have to consider eye contact. Okay? So next, you have to address them with the appropriate greeting for the time by saying, good morning ma'am, good afternoon sir, good evening ma'am. It is very important. Why? Because you are paying respect and it shows that you are a well-mannered and professional employee. Next, try to call the guest by her or his name. For example, by saying, good morning Mr. Cruz, good morning Mr. Perez, how are you today? Or let's say, good afternoon or good evening Mr. Lopez, how are you today? By mentioning or saying the guest name, it shows also professionalism. It's very important to the guests that they feel that they are acknowledged. Next, if the guest is a regular guest or VIP or very important person, you have to greet by name. Therefore, it is very important to identify the VIP guest or the regular guest in your premises. You know what? The importance of greeting by name towards our regular guest or VIP, it shows that we are giving them an importance and it feels good and great for them to be special by greeting their name. Next, it is very important when it comes to welcoming the guest. You should check first if the guests have any reservation. Why? Because checking the guests if they have any reservation, it easily identify the guest name, and in order to have a smooth transaction towards the guest and easily access for the guest details. Next one, you have to politely ask if they have a reservation. If yes, ask for the guest name and guide her or him to the reserved table. So in order to assess them carefully, assess them professionally, or give them an extra special treatment or excellent service. The next one, if no, ask if the guest requires a non-smoking table, smoking table, or window table. So why? It is very important to identify or to determine the preference of the guests where they are comfortable when it comes to the location of the food establishment. So after that, you have to guide the guest to her or his table. Well, of course, you have to assess. It depends upon the chosen table of the guest. So, upon guiding the guest, do not walk too fast when showing the way to the guest, and you have to say to the guest, "This way, madam or sir," with palms open. Why? It shows respect to the guest, and also it shows professionalism as well, or being professional to your guest. Once at the table, ask if the table is to the guest's satisfaction. So, you have to ask your guest, "Are you okay with this table, ma'am? Are you okay with this location, ma'am? Or are you comfortable with this? Or you want to change or move to other table?" It's very important to ask your guest. So after that, okay, so you have to pull chair out. Always remember that ladies first in order to show respect to our guests. So, and then pull the chair out to ease access to the table and push the chair back when the guest is sitting. So, it is very important to assess our guests in a professional manner, assess carefully in order to give excellent and quality service to our guests. So let's say, for example, if the guests have a lot of belongings with them, offer to have them stored. Well, of course, part of assessing the guests, you have to be attentive. Always mind the body language of the guest. Always mind the needs of the guest. You have to be attentive. So the next one, once guests are seated, you have to introduce yourself and advise that you will be looking after them, or if it is another staff member, you have to introduce them to the guests. So this is very important that you have to inform your guests that you will be the one looking after them and assisting or attending their needs. And it is very important to introduce another staff member, especially if you are a restaurant receptionist and someone or the food attendant will take over your turn to attend the needs of your guests. It is very important and it shows professionalism to the guests. So next, you have to explain the dining options available in the restaurant and present each guest with an open menu for the food and beverage, preferably by standing to the right of the guest. So it is very important to inform the guest to give a complete, detailed, and reliable information. So the next one, it is recommended that ladies are given menu first, then other guests, and finally the host. So it is the standard. You have to always attend first the needs of the ladies, or you have to give first the menu to the ladies, showing respect to our guests. So next, you have to advise your guests of any specials and items that are unavailable. Why? Because it's very important that ahead of time, you have to discuss first, okay, what's the special menu? What's the best seller? Anything specials that you can offer to the guests. Important to inform ahead of time the guests what are those unavailable items from the menu, so that you have to less disappointment, less expectation from the guests. And you know what, class? This is the common scenario when it comes to food establishment, and it might get irritated or feel irritated to the guests when something is not available. Therefore, you have to inform ahead of time your guests before order taking in order to avoid problem. So next, you have to offer still or sparkling water. It's either lunch or dinner service, or offer tea or coffee for breakfast service. It is standard. You have to ask or offer to your guests. And the last one, if guests are dining alone for breakfast, you have to offer them a newspaper or a magazine. You know what, class? Those kind of gesture is highly appreciated of our guests, and it gives good impression towards our food establishment or towards our performance, and it shows that we are giving a good quality and excellent service. So class, those are the standard operating procedure when it comes to welcoming the guests of food establishment. And those are very important that we need to follow, because aside from getting a good revenue, it shows good impression, it shows good performance professionally as an employee. Okay, class, do you have any questions or clarifications regarding the topic that we discussed today? Is it clear? Okay, very good. Okay, class, get your pen and notes and try to write down and answer these following questions. Question number 1. Do you think following the standard operating procedure of welcoming the guests is very important? Yes or no? Okay, so what do you think the advantage of having enough knowledge when it comes to SOP of welcoming the guests? Okay, class, that's all for today's discussion, and I hope you enjoy and learn at the same time, and I'm sure you can use those learnings towards your work immersion program or in the near future when it comes to workplace. Okay, class, for your assignment, you are going to make your own video presentation, minimum of 5 and maximum of 10 minutes, using the standard operating procedure of welcoming the guests. So you have an idea already how to execute, make a good video presentation, and to be submitted next meeting. Okay, class, once again, that's all for today. Stay safe always. God bless, and thank you so much.